Hello and welcome once again to this class. In this session, I want us to talk about the different implementations of Python and the specific one that we will be using for this course. Now, when you think of a programming language, I want you to know that it usually starts off being an idea from the original creator, and the idea is turned into a document that is also known as the specification. So this document basically outlines what the language is supposed to be like, how things are represented, how tokens are supposed to be represented, how the different programming constructs are supposed to be represented. And then we have a community of people that takes these documents or these specifications and they actually implement the programming language. And so we have a similar story for Python, and on my screen you can see that I've opened three tabs. The first one points to python.org, which is also known as the CPython, which is the default Python, the reference implementation, and that is the version or the implementation of Python that we are going to use throughout this course. But it is important that I tell you about the rest, because not long into your journey you come across these and I don't want you to be surprised once you hear about them. So the Python that is available on python.org is the reference implementation, or you can kind of also think about it as the original implementation. So when people are talking about Python, you want to think CPython, and you also want to think the Python that is downloaded from python.org. I will have a separate session and I'll show you how to install, but for now I want you to understand the difference. And so we also have Pypy, which is Python that is implemented in the Python programming language itself. And I understand it can sound surprising, like how can a language be implemented in that same language? Well, it is interesting and also simple to think about. So the thing is, CPython, as I showed you earlier, is the reference implementation of Python, and it is Python implemented in C. Okay, so you might be wondering, how does a programming language go from being an idea to becoming the programming language itself? And in a previous session I showed you that we have compilers and interpreters, and so these compilers and interpreters are also programs in themselves, and they need to be written in some programming language, right? So if we think of a language like C, the first compiler or the first C compiler could have been written in assembly language, and once they've had a compiler that is able to compile the C language, they can now write a C compiler in the C programming language, because now you have a compiler for the language. Okay, so there's a similar story for Python, where the CPython from python.org is implemented in the language C, and we also have pypy.org, which is Python that is implemented in Python. So you can see that on their page they say it is a fast, compliant, alternative implementation of Python, and it is basically Python that is written in Python. And we also have Jython, which is Python that is implemented in Java. So it says Jython is a Java implementation of Python. So basically it is the Python programming language and its interpreter that has been implemented in another programming language called Java. So it won't be long in your journey, and you start hearing about the different Python implementations out there. And so I just don't want you to be confused about it. The reference implementation is CPython, which is available on python.org. We have Pypy, which is Python implemented in Python. We also have Jython, which is Python implemented in Java. So that is it for this session. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.